Hello YouTubers. Before I get started on this video, I'd like to give a shout out and a thank you to my newest patron. Hopefully I get his name right, Namphong Quash. Thank you very much for your support. If anybody else would like to support, please go out to patreon.com/JesseGrimes. And here's the video. The day after the PDC was over, we found ourselves bumping up a dusty road in the mountains on our way to pick some wild Montana huckleberries. A lot of the people went home after the PDC, but a few stayed back, come up to the mountains, and pick some berries with us. We spent the afternoon hunched over the bushes, picking tiny little berries, but came out with a nice haul of delicious fresh fruit. More than enough for a pie, but we just ended up eating them with breakfast. I've got a very large bounty project ahead of me at Wafati 0.7, but before I get to that, I decided to knock out a smaller project on 0.8. There was a small wasp nest in between me and the bounty, so I borrowed Paul's bee suit to move the nest. They ended up not being very aggressive, but at least I got to wear the bee suit. In the end, I covered the entire face of 0.8 and put a nice little bounty in my pocket. And while I was working on this, Caroline was hard at work at my plot, hand digging an entire garden. There was compost left over from the PDC, so me, Evan, and Curtis put it in my truck and split it 3 ways. Speaking of leftovers from the PDC, Carol Ann and I tried our hand at flushing the rabbit skins. It was a long, gruesome, smelly affair, and a lot more work than we expected. Speaking of work, the berm shed project was still yet to be finished. My dad sent me a brand new chainsaw, so it was a great excuse to try it out, felling some trees for the poles. Always taking time to stop and taste the Saskatoon berries. Josh and Evan helped me pull them out of the woods and bring them down to base camp. Once back at base camp, the poles are cut to size, and then we sunk a couple posts to support the back wall. Then other poles are put behind those and secured with baling wire. Once the tarp and all the dirt is put on the back, the weight of the dirt holds the poles to the posts. This whole thing is being built with less than $200 in materials. While we were in town getting a nice meal out, we finally got all that rain that we missed out on in June. We went back to the lab, and there was indeed water collecting in the road. Carol Ann took the opportunity to plant a few more seeds in our new garden, and we quickly got to work putting a layer of wood chip mulch on. We put a thin layer of mulch right now until all the seeds grow up and get a little bigger. Then we'll put a thicker layer on, and that'll hopefully help hold all this moisture in the soil. It continued to rain for a couple more days, so we ended up spending a lot of time on Wafati 0.7 playing a game that Evan invented called Permaculture Pie Party. We went back to our plot and there was a lot more water collecting in the road, and so we dug a ditch from the pond over into our garden. I dug a small ditch around all the pathways, using the water as a natural level, and then Carol Ann scooped the rest of the dirt out, making it so the water would spread out through all the pathways and soak into the garden. That evening, Paul and Jocelyn invited us into their home for a nice dinner, which included pig's head stew. Evan and I played a game of chess, which he won, so he got to eat the cherry. And finally, I got to do some work in my own plot, clearing some trees for the future site of my berm shed. I'm thinking I will build a small shed this year and focus on a bigger house next year. Speaking of berm shed, there's still a lot of work to do on that project, as well as many other projects around here. Not to mention building a house for the winter and trying to grow some food. Looks like I got a lot of work ahead of me.